There are cars that arrive quietly, and then there are cars that change the temperature of a room before the key even turns. The Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG is the second kind. You see it first in silhouette. Long hood stretching forward like a runway. Cabin pushed far back, almost resting on the rear axle. And those doors. Closed, they hint at something special. Opened, they rewrite the atmosphere entirely. Gullwing panels rising into the air like mechanical wings preparing for departure. It doesn't look like a modern supercar chasing trends. It looks like a machine carved around an engine. Oh, what? Purposeful. There's tension in the sheet metal. A sense that everything is wrapped tightly around something powerful beneath. You walk up to it at dusk. The aluminum body catching the last of the sunlight. No giant screens distracting you. No hybrid badges promising efficiency. Just a start button. And anticipation. You press it. For half a heartbeat there's silence. Then the ignition fires. A violent, metallic bark explodes from the quad exhaust. The revs flare sharply upward before settling into a deep, uneven idle. Not shaky, but alive. You feel it through the seat. Through the steering column. A low-frequency pulse traveling through the chassis. This isn't a synthetic sound piped through speakers. This is displacement. Raw, mechanical combustion. At idle, it doesn't hum politely. It thumps. Each firing event distinct. Each pulse separated by milliseconds of mechanical precision. Blip the throttle lightly and the response is instant. The engine snaps upward with a crisp, dry metallic tone. No delay. No filter. Just air, fuel, spark, and compression happening in violent harmony. You don't know the horsepower yet. You don't need to. The character tells you everything. This is old-school AMG philosophy. Before downsizing. Before turbocharging took over the segment. Before electrification softened edges. Under this impossibly long hood sits something that feels almost rebellious today. Naturally aspirated. Large displacement. Hand-assembled. A power plant designed not to comply but to dominate. And to understand why this engine still commands respect more than a decade later, we have to go far deeper than the numbers. Because what makes the SLS AMG special isn't just how much power it makes. It's how it makes it. The heart of the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG is the M159, a naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8 developed exclusively by AMG. At a time when competitors were chasing forced induction for easy torque, AMG doubled down on displacement and airflow. The engine architecture is a classic 90-degree V8 layout. But almost everything about its internal design was engineered for performance rather than comfort. The block is aluminum. Lightweight, rigid, and designed to handle sustained high RPM operation. The cylinder heads are also aluminum, featuring dual overhead camshafts per bank. 4 valves per cylinder. 32 valves total. Breathing is everything in a naturally aspirated engine. And AMG understood that airflow would define the character of this car. The M159 uses forged pistons. Lightweight connecting rods. A forged steel crankshaft designed to handle repeated high-load operation. This is not a mass-produced commuter engine scaled up. This is a performance engine built with durability in mind. The compression ratio sits high for a large displacement V8. Around 11.3 to 1 in most configurations. That higher compression improves efficiency and throttle response. But it also demands precise fueling and ignition control. Fuel delivery is handled by electronic fuel injection optimized for high flow at sustained RPM. There's no turbocharger compressing air into the intake. No intercoolers managing boost temperatures. Instead, AMG engineered a high-flow intake manifold designed to minimize restriction. Large throttle bodies allow massive volumes of air to enter almost instantly. When you press the accelerator, you're directly commanding airflow. That's why the response feels immediate. There's no turbo lag to mask. No boost curve to wait for. Just linear power building with engine speed. And that linearity is addictive. As revs climb, the exhaust note transforms. From a deep idle rumble into a sharp mechanical scream near redline. The redline itself sits high for such a large engine. Around 7,200 revolutions per minute. For a 6.2-liter V8, that's serious rotational speed. And AMG didn't just focus on power output. They redesigned the lubrication system entirely. The M159 uses a dry sump lubrication setup. That means instead of oil sitting in a traditional pan under the engine, it's stored in a separate reservoir. Multiple scavenging pumps pull oil from the crankcase and send it to the tank. This allows the engine to sit lower in the chassis, improving center of gravity. It also ensures consistent oil pressure under extreme lateral loads. Track driving. High-speed sweepers. Sustained G-forces. The oil stays where it needs to be. Cooling was also engineered for sustained abuse. Large radiators. Dedicated oil coolers. Airflow carefully managed through the massive front grille openings. Heat soak becomes a serious issue in high-output engines. But the SLS was built with track use in mind. Repeated pulls. Back-to-back acceleration runs. The thermal management system is robust enough to maintain performance consistency. Now let's talk about output. Because by this point you've probably guessed it's significant. But before numbers, think about the sensation. Rolling into the throttle at 3,000 revolutions per minute. The engine pulls cleanly. No spike. No surge. Just building pressure in your chest. At 5,000 revolutions per minute, it sharpens. Intake noise increases. Exhaust tone tightens. At 6,500 revolutions per minute, it's ferocious. Mechanical. Unfiltered. And then you glance at the tatch sweeping toward redline. In most SLS AMG configurations, this engine produces around 563 horsepower and approximately 479 pound-feet of torque. No turbos. No hybrid assist. Just atmospheric pressure and displacement. Power is sent to the rear wheels through a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission mounted at the rear in a transaxle layout. That rear-mounted transmission helps balance weight distribution. Close to 47 front, 53 rear depending on specification, which changes how the engine feels under acceleration. From a standstill, launch control engages aggressively. Clutches clamp down. Rear tires fight for grip. 0 to 60 happens in the mid 3-second range in ideal conditions. But what stands out isn't just the number. It's the violence of the first few feet. The engine doesn't wait to build boost. It's already there. Torque hits instantly. City driving reveals another side. At low speeds, throttle calibration is surprisingly manageable. AMG tuned the ECU to avoid abrupt surges during parking maneuvers. But press deeper into the pedal and the response sharpens dramatically. You feel the engine's mass spinning up. Not sluggish, but substantial. There's weight to the rotation. And that weight gives the sound texture. On the highway, drop from 7th to 4th. RPM jumps instantly. You roll from 50 to 90 miles per hour. The surge is relentless. No turbo swell. No plateau. Just a continuous, rising wave of acceleration. By 90 miles per hour, the engine still feels eager. Still pulling. Still climbing. Repeated pulls show minimal fade. The cooling system holds steady. Oil temperatures remain controlled under spirited driving. Compared to rivals of its era, the SLS stood apart. The Ferrari 458 Italia relied on a high-revving flat-plane V8. More exotic in sound, but different in character. The Porsche 911 Turbo of that generation used forced induction for massive torque. Faster in some scenarios, but less linear in delivery. The SLS chose a different philosophy. Big displacement. Immediate response. Mechanical authenticity. Long-term ownership is another discussion entirely. The M159 has proven durable when properly maintained. Regular oil changes are critical. Dry sump systems require attention to detail. Maintenance costs are not inexpensive. This is a hand-built AMG engine. But for USA buyers seeking a modern classic, reliability is generally strong when service schedules are respected. Parts availability remains solid through Mercedes-Benz networks. And because it's naturally aspirated, there are fewer forced induction components to fail over time. No turbochargers to replace. No intercoolers to leak. Just mechanical precision. Engine braking is pronounced. Lift off at high RPM and you feel resistance immediately. The car slows with mechanical authority. Downshifts are sharp. Rev matched automatically with aggressive throttle blips. The sound bouncing off surrounding buildings becomes part of the experience. At idle in traffic you still feel that subtle pulse. A reminder of the displacement ahead of you. And when you shut it off, the engine doesn't fade quietly. It stops with a final mechanical shudder. Fans continue spinning briefly as heat dissipates. The silence afterward feels earned. What makes this engine special today is context. In a world of downsized turbocharged units and hybrid systems masking response with electric torque, the SLS AMG stands as a monument to a specific engineering era. Large displacement. Naturally aspirated. Hand-assembled by a single AMG technician. Side. Personal. The M159 isn't just powerful. It's expressive. It communicates through vibration, sound, and throttle feedback. It rewards commitment. And it demands respect. For enthusiasts in the United States who value mechanical authenticity, this engine represents something increasingly rare. Not just speed, but character. The Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG will always be remembered for its gullwing doors, for its dramatic presence, for its visual connection to the 300 SL of the 1950s. But the real legacy lives under that long hood. A 6.2-liter V8 that refused to be subtle. A naturally aspirated powerhouse built at the edge of regulatory change. An engine that delivers emotion before numbers. And even today, when you hear that cold start echo through a parking structure, you understand instantly why it matters. If you appreciate engines that tell a story every time they fire, if you value displacement and response over complexity, this is one worth studying. And if you want more deep dives into machines like this, engines that shaped eras rather than followed trends, make sure you're subscribed. Because here we don't just read spec sheets.